Research tells us that delinquency, at least in America, is largely a normative phenomena, meaning all kids do it. In fact, the research indicates that about 85% of American teenagers report having engaged in delinquent act during their adolescent years. It costs much, much more to detain kids or incarcerate kids or to place them at a home than it would to address their needs in the community and to help strengthen their family.
In the southernmost tip of Baltimore City, the Chesapeake Center for Youth Development can be found.
There are three components to the philosophy behind the work that we do at CCYD. One has to do with developing positive adult caring relationships as a way to foster behavioral change. Another one has to do with treating youngsters in the community where they live, where they go to school, and where they ultimately will work. And the third component is to take youngsters that come to our attention and put them into activities, whether they be academic, recreational, social, where they can develop a positive identity with other young people.
That's what I'm looking for, not a job at the college.
Whether it is an employment opportunity through CCYD's Workforce Development Program, intensive case management services linking youth to available education, health, and mental health services through the Juvenile Intervention Family Independence Project, MSDE certified alternative education programs at the Chesapeake Alternative School, or Changes, CCYD's award-winning academic enrichment-based after-school program. CCYD lifts young lives by encouraging positive behavior and caring relationships that keep youth connected to the community.
Coming up, my grandmother did a lot of cooking, and I seen how she put smiles on the neighbors and family's faces, and it always made a big impact on me. So I said one day I want to be putting smiles on the world's face. I knew what I wanted to do with my life, but I needed help to finish it. CCYD put me through a 12-week intern at the center, which actually helped me to get my ServSafe certification. They helped me get my job at Hollywood Diner. I thought that becoming a cook would put smiles on a lot of people's faces, and I'm actually saying it now. It puts a smile on my face.
Acquiring our own facility, which we've converted a 120-year-old historic church into a contemporary education center and a social service organization, and we're not finished doing that yet. They added a lot of stability to the organization.
The new addition was built in the early 90s, and since that time there's been a succession of improvements to the entire complex. But I think one of the most significant things that has occurred over that time is, instead of doing piecemeal projects to improve pieces of the building, we did a schematic master plan of the whole building. And that way, when we did an individual project, it would result in an orderly development of the entire facility. We're now in the process of renovating the upper level of the building and the loft.
CCYD's mission is to make a positive difference in the lives of young people that are most vulnerable to becoming involved with the juvenile justice system. And that becomes a tremendous challenge when you consider that we're working in the face of constantly shifting program priorities and funding priorities within the government agencies that we have to work with most.
So right now we have this huge imbalance between what we invest in a relatively small percentage of the juvenile justice caseload, who are put in very expensive institutions that produce very, very bad results, high recidivism rates, lots of violence and the like, versus the limited amount of money we put into the community for kids, even though there's lots of evidence that those investments produce great returns both for kids and for taxpayers in terms of avoiding future problems.
Your help is needed. Please consider making a donation to CCYD.